So, what exactly is a stablecoin, you might be wondering? It's kind of in the name, a cryptocurrency designed to maintain a stable value. While other cryptocurrencies may experience wild price swings, stablecoins remain stable, making them an attractive option for traders, investors, and everyday users. But how do stablecoins manage to maintain this stability? It all comes down to the underlying asset. For example, a stablecoin that's pegged to the US dollar usually has a corresponding amount of dollars stored in a secure location. This ensures that the stablecoin's value remains stable, regardless of market fluctuations. Now, you might be wondering, can stablecoins be trusted? That's a great question, and one we'll be exploring in this video. We'll be discussing the different types of stablecoins, what they're backed by, their mechanisms, use cases, and the risks involved. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of stablecoins, including which ones are the safest to use. But remember, this is not financial advice. We're here to educate and empower you. Welcome to the Crypto Landlord, where we simplify complex crypto concepts into life-changing knowledge that you can use to build your wealth and achieve financial freedom. So, first of all, what is a stablecoin, and why do we have them? As mentioned in the intro, a stablecoin is a type of cryptocurrency designed to maintain a stable value relative to an underlying asset, such as the US dollar or even gold. The idea behind stablecoins is to provide the benefits of cryptocurrencies, such as fast and secure transactions, while avoiding the volatility that is often associated with traditional cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Stablecoins are becoming increasingly popular because they offer many benefits and potential use cases. One of the main advantages is that stablecoins provide a way to move funds between different cryptocurrencies or exchanges without incurring high fees or long transaction times. It's like having a universal currency that can be used for any kind of transaction or exchange. Stablecoins can be used for international money transfers, providing a faster and cheaper alternative to traditional remittance methods. Imagine you need to send money to your family overseas. With stablecoins, you could do so quickly and easily, without the high fees and long wait times that often come with traditional methods. Stablecoins can serve as a valuable tool for hedging against inflation, providing a stable store of value that is not subject to the same inflationary pressures as traditional currencies. This can be especially useful in countries with high inflation rates or unstable currencies, where access to stable currencies such as the US dollar may be limited, as in the case of Venezuela or Argentina. Although stablecoins are not immune to inflation, as they are often backed by assets that may themselves be subject to inflationary pressures, they can offer a more reliable store of value compared to local currencies that may be prone to significant fluctuations in value for many people around the world. Therefore, stablecoins can provide individuals and businesses in such regions with a more stable alternative for savings or transactions, and they may prefer to use stablecoins as a store of value over the local currencies. Stablecoins are also a key component of the decentralized finance ecosystem, which aims to create decentralized alternatives to traditional financial services. With DeFi, you have more control over your financial transactions and can avoid the fees and restrictions that come with traditional financial institutions. Stablecoins can be used as collateral for loans, as a means of payment within DeFi applications, and for other financial transactions. You could also use stablecoins to provide liquidity and earn yield, which are often more attractive than traditional yields. But always be skeptical if something seems too good to be true, because it often is, like with Terra UST. Stablecoins can be created using a variety of mechanisms, including being backed by fiat currency reserves, commodity reserves, algorithmic models, or even other cryptocurrencies. Let's take a closer look at some of the most popular types of stablecoins. Fiat-backed stablecoins are backed by a reserve of fiat currency, like the US dollar or euro, held in a bank account or other custodial arrangement. When a user purchases a fiat-backed stablecoin, the issuer holds an equivalent amount of fiat currency in reserve. This ensures that the stablecoin's value remains stable and pegged to the underlying fiat currency. It's important to note that stablecoins need to be backed by enough reserve to ensure their value remains stable. For example, if a stablecoin has 1 million tokens that are supposed to be worth $1 each, the issuer must hold $1 million in reserve. If the value of their reserve is worth less than the total market cap of their tokens, it's an under-collateralized asset, which is not good. On the other hand, if they have a bigger reserve than value issued in stablecoins, they are over-collateralized, which is usually a good sign, but there are a few things to watch out for. However, fiat-backed stablecoins are typically backed one for one. The benefits of fiat-backed stablecoins are that they're generally considered the most stable and reliable type of stablecoin, as they're backed by a trusted and stable asset. However, they rely on trust in the issuer and the reserve of fiat currency held in custody. If the issuer mismanages the reserve or becomes insolvent, the stablecoin could lose its value. Examples of fiat-backed stablecoins are Tether, USDT, Binance USD, BUSD, and USD Coin, USDC. Some of these are considered safer than others, which we will return to later in the video. Crypto-backed stablecoins are a type of stablecoin that are backed by a reserve of other cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even other stablecoins, which are held in a smart contract on the blockchain. One of the benefits of using crypto-backed stablecoins is that they offer greater decentralization and transparency compared to fiat-backed stablecoins, as they don't require a centralized custodian to maintain the reserve. However, one of the potential risks with crypto-backed stablecoins is that if the value of the underlying cryptocurrency decreases significantly, the stablecoin's value may also decrease, making it harder to maintain its peg. This is why many crypto-backed stablecoins are over-collateralized, which means they hold more reserve than the amount of stablecoins issued. For example, if a stablecoin is backed by Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin in their reserve is worth $200 million, but they only have $100 million worth of issued stablecoins, the stablecoin is over-collateralized and can withstand a 50% crash in Bitcoin's price and still have a sufficient reserve. It's important to consider what cryptocurrencies a stablecoin is backed by and evaluate whether it's likely to maintain its peg in worst-case scenarios. Some examples of crypto-backed stablecoins are DAI and USDD. Commodity-backed stablecoins are a type of stablecoin that are like having a digital version of a gold or silver coin. Just like how you can trust that a gold coin is always worth a certain amount of money, a commodity-backed stablecoin is also always worth the value of the physical commodity that backs it. When you purchase a commodity-backed stablecoin, the issuer will hold an equivalent amount of the physical commodity in reserve, just like how a bank might store gold in a vault. One benefit of commodity-backed stablecoins is that they provide a stable store of value that is not subject to the same inflationary pressures as fiat currencies. However, they can also be more volatile than fiat-backed stablecoins because the price of the underlying commodity can fluctuate significantly. Examples of commodity-backed stablecoins include Pax Gold, PAXG, and Digix DAO, or DGD. Algorithmic stablecoins can be thought of as having a smart piggy bank. Just like your piggy bank automatically adjusts the amount of coins it holds based on how much you put in or take out, algorithmic stablecoins adjust their supply in response to changes in demand to maintain a stable price. One of the benefits of algorithmic stablecoins is that they can be more flexible and potentially more cost-effective than fiat or commodity-backed stablecoins, as they don't require a reserve of an underlying asset. However, algorithmic stablecoins can be risky because they rely on complex algorithms that may not always work as intended. For example, the issues with UST and Luna demonstrate the potential risks involved with algorithmic stablecoins, and more work needs to be done to ensure their safety and reliability. On the other hand, some algorithmic stablecoins like Frax have been performing well and maintaining their stability. Overall, while stablecoins offer many benefits, there are also risks and limitations that must be considered. It's important to do your own research and due diligence before using or investing in stablecoins. There are a few potential risks to consider. First, there is a risk of fraud or mismanagement. If a stablecoin is backed by an underlying asset, such as a fiat currency or commodity, it's only as trustworthy as the entity holding the underlying assets in reserve. If the issuer mismanages the reserve or becomes insolvent, the stablecoin could lose its value. Second, stablecoins that rely on algorithms can be subject to technical limitations. Bugs or vulnerabilities in the smart contracts that underlie the algorithm could lead to the failure of the algorithm, which could result in a loss of value for the stablecoin holders. Stablecoins can also be subject to market risk. If the stablecoin is tied to a volatile underlying asset, such as a cryptocurrency or commodity, the stablecoin's value could decline if the price of the underlying asset falls. Stablecoins are subject to regulatory risk. If they are not properly registered or licensed in the jurisdictions where they are used, regulatory changes could lead to a loss of value or even an outright ban of stablecoins in some jurisdictions. Finally, limited adoption. Stablecoins are still a relatively new technology, and their adoption is not yet widespread. This means that there is a risk that stablecoins may not gain traction or become widely adopted, limiting their potential benefits and use cases. Choosing the right stablecoin can be a daunting task, but don't worry, we've got you covered. When it comes to stability, fiat-backed stablecoins are the most reliable, just like a good old-fashioned piggy bank. You know exactly what you're getting and can trust it to hold your money securely. But not all stablecoins are created equal, and it's important to do your research before investing. For example, Tether has been around for a while, but they've never been able to prove their reserves, like a kid who says they have $1 million in their piggy bank but can't show you. And Binance USD has some questionable practices going on right now, so we'd advise you to tread carefully there. So, which stablecoins can you trust? We personally use and recommend USDC and TUSD. They have proven their reserves in a trustworthy and transparent manner, like a kid who shows you all their money and even lets you count it. Remember, when it comes to investing, knowledge is power. Do your research and make informed decisions. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more educational content about the exciting world of cryptocurrencies. Thank you for watching.